What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the LAN Party Podcast. It is Tuesday, October 22nd. We are already almost into November. It feels like October started 2 days ago.
Yep. But in fact,
Holy crap.
20 days ago.
Boy, you couldn't have timed your entrance any better. I came about this close to sending a message in the chat and being like, "Hey guys, we canceled today. We're running too far behind."
I was literally like turning on to Bennett when you said that. So it was just like,
He'd have still showed up and he'd have been like, "All right, time to fucking fight."
well, I mean, what am I gonna do at that point? I'd have nothing else to do.
Turn
but
around.
fight.
So I do want to. There's a few things I want to touch on today, because quite a lot has developed since our last podcast. Some of it's newer stuff, some of it is old stuff. So we're just gonna kind of dive in. Have you guys kind of heard about this massive amount of dislike, distaste, dissatisfaction from some of the very profound directors from the former days towards Marvel movies?
What do you mean the former days?
So like Martin Scorsese and what's it, Francis Ford Coppola or whatever. They made like they were involved in big movies like The Godfather and movies
Right.
that are widely considered nowadays as cult classics.
Or not even cult classic, just
Classic
classics,
movies.
period.
Yeah.
One of the greatest pieces of film work of all time.
So Martin Scorsese, a couple weeks back, and it wasn't really a big deal, which is why we never really touched on it, but a couple weeks back made the comment something along the lines of he didn't feel that Marvel movies were truly cinema. I'm gonna find his.
I would be willing to agree with that. They're basically comic book movies. Well, they're comic books on screen, is what they are. It's not. It's
I want to find his exact quote though, because I cannot remember what precisely he said.
as far as the art of cinema.
He said they're not cinema. So here is, in the way he worded it, almost sounded too like almost passive aggressive, almost. But I don't think he meant any disrespect. And I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's not the end of the world, but he said it isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being, which I'm going to stop you right there.
I mean, it is.
I 100% disagree with that.
I 100% agree with that.
What do you mean it is not the cinema of human beings trying? All of Avengers Endgame.
It's not that deep. It's a good story, but it's not
pretty
that
fucking deep.
deep.
It's pretty deep when you factor in the fact that all these characters have had 4 and 5 movies apiece to flesh out their storylines so that you it's even
Sure,
deeper.
But it's not like they have that much of a deep character, that much of a deep. It's not like tugging at the very core of humanity. You know what I mean?
We're gonna have to agree to disagree here.
It's not as deep as you think it is.
Okay, so provide me an example of Martin Scorsese's work that is as deep as he's making it sound that his work is.
Well, I don't know him personally. I'm not a cinephile, but let me look up his discography filmography, and if The Godfather's on there, I could probably give you a couple examples.
He said, but that's not... No, I don't think he was Godfather. He said, but that's not cinema. Honestly, the closest I can think of the Marvel movies, as well made as they are, with the actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is a theme park. That's what he relates the Marvel movies to. So...
It's good, fellas.
We'll pick up where we left off on that. The one that's got me really...
They're entertainment, is what they are. They're not art pieces.
So here is I want to try to find. Here it is. Francis Ford Coppola, who was the director of The Godfather. So he, again, responsible for one of the biggest movies of all time. Let me see if I can find his precise quote. He said, "I don't know that anyone gets anything out of." Oh wait, no, this is halfway through his quote. He said, "When Martin Scorsese says that the Marvel pictures are not cinema, he's right, because we expect to learn something from cinema. We expect to gain something, some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration. I don't know that anyone gets anything out of seeing these movies, seeing the same movie over and over again. Martin was kind when he said it's not cinema. He didn't say it's despicable, which I just say it is." So
I'll disagree with him there because it has.
I feel
place.
like
It's entertainment.
despicable is far too.
I feel like that's far too strong of a stance to take on it. But I mean, it's opinion. So.
Here's the other thing too. You have to understand too. Time changes and entertainment changes with time.
That's true. It's just.
And I feel like, and again, I wasn't really, I wasn't alive, but when the movies that they're so well known for, if I was alive when any of them came out, like more recent ones, I was far too young to remember any of them. They were probably regarded as fantastic movies, but I'm sure directors that were huge in the generation before them are like, well, that's not cinema, that's violence and blah, blah, blah. Because again, the times change with...
Yeah, that's true. It's just, still, it's like the difference between Oblivion and Skyrim, right? Whereas both of them are groundbreaking, earth-shattering games
in different times.
Yeah, in their own rights. But I mean, whenever you take deep dives into Skyrim, for instance, you find it a lot more shallow than you would Oblivion. There's not as much character in the world.
See, I agree with you there, but I still have to say I agree to disagree on the fact that Marvel movies are shallow. Because I personally disagree.
I'm not saying they're like ridiculously shallow, like rom-com style, but I mean they're more they're just entertainment. They're not as deep as they try and convince you they are.
I mean, but so is any movie that you go to see is technically just entertainment. And I mean, it's
yeah, but I mean some of them have a little bit more depth than others. You know what I mean?
My point being, though, I feel like going as far to say that Marvel movies are despicable. Honestly, what I think started this is Martin Scorsese just released a movie, or is about to release a movie. I think it just came out, called The Irishman with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, and it kind of came out right around the same time that the Spider-Man stuff was going on, like this, in Spider-Man's killing the box office, and like I feel like there was maybe a little bit of jealousy because Marvel just raked in billions from fucking Avengers Endgame, and then Spider-Man Homecoming came out and they raked in more and more money. Yeah. And his movie is kind of squandered a little bit in comparison, and it's
just the resources at play there, because I mean Disney has Disney, and they have the resources of Disney, and they have the power of mass marketing down to a science, and then they also have the brands of Spider-Man and all that other stuff to call upon, which are legendarily.
But I truthfully, I think entertainment changes with time. Everything changes with time. Music changes with time. Guess what? There was a time where rock music was considered despicable.
I mean, it still is.
Yeah, but it's a lot less despicable. Like, there was a time when
nobody's fucking taking your records and breaking them in half
or setting them on fire because it's
in the face of Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
they're singing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Yeah, I know, right? It's fucking awesome.
So I mean, we'll kind of let that one stew for a little while. But I just mixed feelings. I truthfully disagree, but I understand that there's also a large number of people out there that agree. And I'm not trying to back it up specifically
What's
for
your
the
opinion,
fact that
Nate?
Yes.
There's two opinions.
I'm going to start talking about stuff that's going to get Nate involved. So be ready to get involved, like right now. So I think it was last week, middle of last week, late last week.
Middle late last week.
October 17th, so that would have been late last week.
Uh-huh.
Bethesda put out a article on their website for regarding Fallout 76 and some stuff that's coming up. And
what could possibly go wrong?
I want to, it's going to start with something that I think is right, but naturally everybody else thinks is wrong, and I'm sure you'll agree, and you'll honestly probably agree whether you play the game or not. But anyways, it starts out giving us an update on Wastelanders, and for those of you that have lived under a fucking rock for the past 8 months, Wastelanders is the big expansion that's coming to Fallout 76 that adds human NPCs, something that people have wanted in the game since it was announced. Big update, new quests, new ways to play the game. Huge thing. It was originally slated for a fall release, and they announced last week they are pushing it back to Q1 of 2020. I personally am fine with this decision because
go ahead.
Yes, exactly. And the fact that there are people that are mad about this baffles me, because these are the same people that were mad when Fallout 76 released on time broken.
It's like, just if they need a little extra time. I mean, Q1 of 2020 could mean like fucking May or earlier.
Yeah, and I doubt it's going to take that long, because they were shooting for, I think, an early November release. So honestly, if they're shooting for an early November release and they push it back
to like February, I mean,
yeah, I honestly wouldn't expect it any later than February. And again, I don't care how long it takes to come out, as long as it's polished and not a broken fucking mess. Take as much time as you need. This is these people that get all pissy when stuff gets delayed.
It's just the people that need to be pissed at something.
Well, and like, those are the people that are the problem. You guys are the reason that games release broken, because
it's damned if you do, damned if you don't with that crowd.
You throw a bitch fit if the game comes out and it's broken. The developers are like, okay, well, we'll take some time to release a better, more polished product. Oh, well, I'm expecting it this day and it's not coming out that day. And they'll be like, well, I took 4 weeks off of vacation. Bull fucking shit. I cannot stand the people that just, they're
maybe use that 4 weeks of vacation to do something else. There's 1, more games, and 2, way better ways to spend 4 weeks of vacation.
I just cannot get over the general I don't understand when people felt so entitled, but it's getting under my skin. Because again, we're talking about the same people that will whine and complain about, remember the good old days where games came out when games came out, they were ready to go out the box. You put them in the console and it played. And they're also the same people that bitch that the fucking game gets pushed back or the DLC gets pushed back because it needs to be fixed and finished. I cannot stand that.
Just have a little bit of patience. It'll all work out. Just take a deep breath. Relax. It'll still be there tomorrow, and it'll come out when it comes out.
Well, and now there's also a huge number of people, too, that are like, well, Bethesda just shot themselves in the foot. They officially killed the game. I'm like, why the fuck do you think they killed the game?
I mean, if it's still going after all the shit they've put it through.
And they're like, well, you've got so many games that, you're missing the holiday release window and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you think Bethesda gives a rat's fucking ass? They're going to get it out when it comes out.
Maybe they've got games they're actually going to release during the holiday season anyways. Maybe this is a move to where they're like, okay, we'll delay the release of the expansion, not because it's not finished, but because we have other independent IPs we want to push as a publisher, and we don't want to take away from that that appearance. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It could be. It could be that. It could be that. It could be both. You know?
It's any number of things, but I mean, it's coming. Like, it's not like they just up and canceled the damn project, and it's not like they're like, well, you're gonna have to wait 2 more years.
Yeah, it'll get here when it gets here,
and it'll be just fine.
And
it'll be
here
better.
before you know it.
It'll be better than if it released when they originally wanted it to release. You want to know why?
I mean, optimistically.
Well, they're gonna have more time to fix it, and I am 100% okay with that. And I'm not saying that just to defend Bethesda. I feel like they're in the right here. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they be? It's their shit. They can do whatever they want to with it.
They also announced private worlds are coming to Fallout 76, which is exciting and slightly disappointing in the way they're rolling it out. I cannot say I'm surprised, but it will cost money to have a private world to play with your friends.
That sucks.
So there is that. Now my big question is, like, so the way they worded it in this article, it's for players that pay for this feature, blah 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 blah, so on and so forth, right? But you can also pay for an Ark server, or a Minecraft server, or a Space Engineers server, or an Arma server. You can also host them, like, on your own, if you do all the back-end work. So I'm wondering if for PC people,
you can host.
We can host. I'm hoping that's the case, because they also said that mods will be soon to follow. Now, this is where it gets
playing private
really
games on a hosted server with some stupid mods.
Could you fucking imagine, though? Imagine Mr. Happy in a multiplayer map.
Macho Man Death Claws.
Oh yeah. But the whole mods thing is where I start to get a little fuzzy, because
is it gonna be Bethesda?
That's exactly what I was worried about.
Sell you.
Like, is it going to be Creation Club mods?
Is it gonna be like,
or are you gonna be able to actually have your own mods, put them in the game? Because the Creation Club has gotten a little better since I've seen it last, but it is still paid mods.
Yeah, it's still
and a little overpriced. It's getting better. What they're releasing is getting a little better quality, and they're keeping the price point. But again, PC players do not want to pay for mods.
Yeah, I really just want to go into my computer, replace the bark sound of a dog with fuck. You know? I really don't want to pay $5 to do that.
Now, I will say, they did have the free mods
fuck
on Bethesda.net. Like, you remember, because you guys, console people have access to free mods that are on the Bethesda.net
right
launcher, whatever. So I'm wondering if there will also be a pool of mods there that we can choose from, which, if that's the case, theoretically, we'll be able to just load regular mods. And for the record, I'm not doing any fucking ultra hardcore stupid bullshit.
Well, then I'm not playing with you.
The game is already hard enough.
For you.
It's pretty fucking difficult.
You and your loud ass fucking power armor.
No, when I crouch, they can't hear my power armor.
Oh, I'm super sneaky.
You should see it. It's priceless though, because Nate and I'll go on little raiding runs, and we'll raid this little location in the world, and we'll both be crouched, but I'll be in power armor with my flashlight on. Just
oh, what's that in the distance? Oh, it's just the wind, dude. Why are you worried about it? It really looks like a guy in power armor trying to be sneaky.
Our characters.
You'd think he'd turn his flashlight off.
Our characters in Fallout are not very compatible.
No, they're actually polar opposites.
And it's actually
completely.
It's worse for me. Like, it doesn't affect you, but for me, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible when I play with him.
No, it's not, because anytime you get discovered, you just run away towards me.
Because
and
I
then...
can't do anything.
Yeah,
And
except...
when I shoot something, it dies instantly, and you get upset. So then
Well,
I
no.
let you get the first hit, and then I get discovered, and when I shoot them, it does nothing.
No, here's what happens. Okay, that's true, but he's only telling you part of the truth. Sometimes he's oblivious to some enemy, and he gets discovered by one enemy, and the way any detection system works in any Bethesda game, when one person finds you,
All of them.
they all know where you're at, no matter where they're at in the room. So Nate will walk into a room, and he'll turn around, and there's a ghoul, and he's like, ah, crap, I'm discovered. And he'll you know, with his little silenced rifle or whatever, psh, it's dead. And then coming around the wall are 27 more, and he's like, oh, crap, and he just gets up, and he runs out into me, around me, and they all just stop chasing him and follow me.
You're in fucking power armor.
Yeah,
Fucking be the tank.
That's what your job's for, is aggro
That's
drop.
true, but in order to do that, I have to have the ammunition for the crowd control weapons, and I'm trying to stockpile my ammunition so that whenever we do actually launch a fucking nuke, I am armed to the teeth, because that is a very ammo-consuming endeavor. And I want to make sure that I have, with my minigun, I think I've got 10,000 rounds, but with the minigun, you burn through ammo like fucking candy. Like, it's just bop, 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 bop. Oh, I gotta put in a new clip. And so I'm trying to conserve ammunition, which is impossible when Nate just runs an entire swarm of feral ghouls right at me. It's literally impossible. And while we're on the subject of some stuff coming to Fallout 4 that costs money, so again, just to recap, private worlds, as far as we're aware, will cost money. We don't know how much or how well they perform, whether or not you're going to be able to adjust any of the settings on them. We just know it's going to cost money. Now, that is supposed to be rolling out tomorrow. They said in that post it'll be rolling out next week, and the update, the next patch is tomorrow. They're bringing the servers down for maintenance tomorrow and putting them back up. So I don't know again. And the other thing is, I don't know if it's a permanent purchase or if it's like a typical rent-a-server where you pay like $9 a month and you have a server. Well, knowing Bethesda, it'd probably be like $17 a month, but you know,
That's besides the point.
we'll just have to wait and see.
It's neither here nor there.
But along the lines of paid content, they also addressed some topics regarding the Atomic Shop. And this is where I start to disagree. So I'll be completely upfront and honest with you. That little scavenger bot thing that we saw that one person had at their camp, I have one now. It's just, it's too convenient. But it's the whole pay to win discussion that's been kind of swarming the Atomic Shop since the release of the repair kits will not be going away anytime soon. It says here that this includes, so they're talking about earning atoms. So this includes our approach to earning atoms challenges and the types of items to unlock them within the Atomic Shop. Our approach to these items at launch was to keep items purely cosmetic, but after looking at all of our data, it became clear that to consistently deliver content that keeps Fallout 76 fresh and exciting for all, we needed to rethink our approach to the Atomic Shop. That paragraph made me sick to my stomach, because, for one, that is not true. At all. You can keep Fallout 76 fresh and fun with your microtransactions with cosmetics.
I wish they'd do good cosmetics.
You just don't want to come up with different cosmetics as often as you put out updates for the game,
Right.
which is fine, but don't say that it is impossible to keep Fallout 76 fun and fresh in the Atomic Shop, because that's just plain bullshit. Like, they're planning, long story short, because I don't want to read this whole fucking article. We had many ideas, one of which was to direct was a direct result of the community's feedback, which I, again, believe this is bullshit. We heard from many of you who wanted items with some real utility.
No.
Starting in April, we began adding items such as repair kits, scrap kits, and the Collectron Station, and a working refrigerator. I forgot about that. These items have since become the most popular category in the Atomic Shop. We're also still working on the previously announced items and new cosmetic categories. Essentially, the remainder of this section of the article is they plan on evolving the utility category within the Atomic Shop, which I see spiking.
Slope.
Yes, I see spiking a lot of controversy because, again, I don't recall ever saying, give me something within the Atomic Shop that lets me push a button and repair my gun to 130%. I never asked for that. And surely to God, there wasn't that large of a number of people that asked for that, relatively speaking. I feel like they're just trying to milk money out of people, and I am not a fan of that.
Joke's on them. I've used all my free items on those repair kits.
Well, now I will say they are talking about trying to evolve the way people earn atoms too. Now, whether that's in a more
gamified way where you can
get like that's what I mean, but like you can get them through the game,
like more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they mean they're going to try and add more atoms to the economy through the game, or if they're just going to change it. But here's my take on it. The food thing, I'm okay with. Like, that doesn't bother me because it's not like you can carry the fucking refrigerator with you everywhere you go. You have to be at your camp for that to be useful. I'm okay with that one. The scrapper Collectron or whatever, I have one. I'm not 100% supportive of it, but again, you have to go to your camp to get anything that it collects.
I mean,
those
it's so easy in the game to get scrap anyway. Like, it's not really that big of a deal.
And again, I haven't used mine long enough to know whether it collects rare scrap or if it's just like steel and wood.
I mean, it saves you time, but
yeah. Where I start to draw the line is stuff that can be used in the field, like the scrap kits and the repair kits. And I'm okay if they further evolve the utility side of the camp items. That would be really cool to me. I really feel like that would kind of add more depth to the camps. I'm okay if you add stuff that's strictly for camp use that is also utilized. But if you start pushing out more repair kits and scrap kits, what's next? Fucking assembly kits for guns that you up in the field. Oh shit, I need an assault rifle. Boop. All right, I got one.
See, they added a unique feature that's, I don't know if any other game has it, where, you know, it has a player versus player option. And no other player versus player option that uses guns takes into account gun condition, where your gun can, like, break or jam.
Right.
Fallout does. And then they go and pretty much eliminate that. Like, oh, here's a repair kit, you can instantly repair your gun.
Yep.
So they got rid of that really cool feature.
And it brings up the discussion as to whether or not that's pay to win. And
because I mean, if you don't feel like paying for those repair kits, and
you have a lost advantage.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're at a 50% condition on your gun, and somebody surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah,
you have to defend yourself for that. You're at a massive disadvantage if that guy has repair kits.
I actually don't think I would mind if you had to use a workbench to repair it. It just gives you the stuff for free. The problem is you can literally open up your Pip-Boy or whatever,
and
click
use
on
it
and your gun's
like
fixed.
that.
You don't have to be at a workbench or anything. It's just instantly fixed.
And
right
that's
there.
why I feel like that's a pay-to-win feature. Because, again, not that it happens very often anymore, which is cool because I really like where the Fallout community is. Like, it's really neat visiting all these camps with their shops set up and talking to these people and seeing what they've done. Like, the Fallout community in Fallout 76 is very friendly. But on the off chance that you run into somebody in the field that attacks you, well, their gun might break, and you're like, ah, sweet, I've got the upper hand. My gun's still got like 40% condition left.
And then all of a sudden they're like,
and
click,
then
they have 130%.
Yeah, you see them pop into their Pip-Boy, and then they pop out and their gun's back.
You know what they could do is add an animation to it.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like their justification for it is you still have to open the Pip-Boy in the middle of combat. But again, you just go hide behind cover.
You can put it on your hotbar, can't you?
Maybe, I don't know. But again, you just...
It doesn't take too long.
Even if it does, like, that's not a very valid justification because all they have to do is run and hide behind cover and go, boop, all right, gun's
Have
fixed.
their buddy distract the person for a minute.
Yeah, and I'm frustrated with that. And the other thing, the scrap kits, too. The way those work, you pick up a bunch of junk in the world, and then you use the scrap kit, and it automatically breaks it all down to its core components, and it sends it to your camp, which is mighty convenient. But that irritates the living shit out of me, too, because how many times have one of us or all of us been over-encumbered from collecting scrap?
I'm usually not over-encumbered. It's usually
And-
your problem.
Well, either way,
I usually have like 1 or 2 guns on me.
we still have to figure a way out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel like that's right to the people that don't pay. Because, again, if you're not paying for that feature, you're losing... It's a paid feature. And that's where I kind of feel like things are a little wrong. Like, I should not pay for a feature in a game.
That'd be cool. So if you could have like if they introduced a follower system with like Brahmin or pack mules or something, that'd be cool.
I do think followers are probably not that far off. I mean, if we're adding human NPCs, surely to God we could expect followers.
I don't know. It might cause some problems.
Yeah, some actually hired out mercenaries that you pay for real money.
Yeah, that's what it'll be. So I mean, I don't know. I do not think that the path of repair kits and scrap kits is the right way to go with the Atomic Shop. I'm okay with the camp utility stuff because, again, you have to be at your camp for that stuff to benefit you. And the Collectron only holds 10 pounds of scrap.
Oh, well, that's like nothing.
So the only advantage to it is it collects scrap for you, like in the background while you're not there. 10 pounds of scrap, that could be 10 pounds of wood. I mean, you don't get to pick what he looks for.
Can you imagine spending billions of dollars on research and development to make a robot that can only carry 10 pounds?
No. I really couldn't. But Robco did it.
Speaking of that, though, did you know Boston Dynamics has just released its first commercial consumer like robot that you can buy it?
How expensive is it?
You have to like it's not one of those things where you just click on a buy button. You have
To apply, I'm sure.
Yeah, so
It's a little silly.
You're a little silly.
Did you see that Ford filed a lawsuit with John Cena for selling his Ford GT?
isn't that old news?
I mean, it's been settled,
Oh, it's
but
been settled.
it just recently settled. My dad was frustrated about that. I'm like, well, I mean, it's in the agreement when you buy that car.
Yeah, it's stupid, but if it was in the agreement when you bought it,
You can't sell it. You know. And the other thing, too, is, and I bet this is something, I bet when you purchase one of those Ford GTs, you don't actually own it. I bet it's like the first 2 years it's leased to you through Ford, which I'm pretty sure is what that is. Because, again, if you own the title, like it's in your possession, and the car is in your name, theoretically you should be able to sell it. So
Unless
something
you signed
tells
a
me...
a legal contract that says
Right,
you won't.
but I feel like that's probably where the lease or whatever they do comes in, because I don't think when your mom doesn't have the title to her car.
No.
She leases her car. She doesn't own her car. Just like I don't think John Cena owned his Ford GT. I feel like, and again, I don't know all the details about
I
that.
mean, technically, you don't have to own it to sell it.
I think you have to own it to sell it to a private buyer. So your mom could sell me her
I don't know how it
car.
works with leases, but like I don't own my Focus.
You're not on a lease.
No, but either way, I don't have the title.
Yeah,
you
but I
have to
feel
sell
like
it.
I think you can give burden of your loan
because
stuff
you
too,
yeah,
as well.
you can provide a lien on the loan. You own the loan.
I don't know
You
how
don't-
the leasing works. I have, but I know my dad. He told me that he sold his Jeep. He leased it, and he told me he sold it to Ford and bought the Ranger.
Well, that
I
might
don't
be
know how
different though,
that
because he
works.
got that at a
Or
dealership,
traded
right?
in.
Yeah, that might be different because the lease is held by the dealership.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
might have been more like a trade-in rather than.
Well, yeah, it's a trade-in, but I still don't understand how that works if he's
Yeah,
leasing it.
but
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
And he
the
trades it into
dealerships-
a Ford dealership
right.
or a Ford Ranger.
The
Like,
dealer.
I have no idea how those work.
I don't either, but I do know that I don't think you can. Like, I don't think your mom could have that car leased and then sell it to your next door neighbor. Like,
No, don't
I think
she
it.
can.
I think it has to be like a dealer of some nature because they're the only ones I think that can hold leases on cars. I don't like own the lease. Like, I could go sell the Magnum right now and I still owe money on it. There'd be a lien on the car, and whoever bought the car would know that they have to cover the rest of that loan. But I mean, I get that it's silly, but again, when you bought the car, you knew you could not sell it. And I mean, why would you fucking sell it? Like, why buy a car that costs what, $430,000? It's like it's an expensive car. You have to apply to get one. You don't just get one. You can't go and buy one. You have to apply to own a Ford GT. And if you are deemed acceptable, then you go through all the customization features and they send you the kit so that you can build your Ford GT. Why would you go through all that and then try to sell it?
I mean, he's got enough money. Why doesn't he just wait until the contract's up? And then
Well, the
sell
other
it?
thing too is I feel like, and again, I don't know John Cena, so it is taking it with a grain of salt, but because he owned it, he could sell that car for like $4 million.
That's true.
Because it was his Ford GT. So he could turn $436,000 into millions, which is probably one of the reasons Ford doesn't want you to sell your car within the first 2 years of owning it. Because what happens is markups. It's the same reason Dodge fought it with the Demon, but they ended up losing. The Demon, MSRP, the Dodge Challenger Demon, $89,000. That's it. $89,000. Try finding one for that. Dodge told official Chrysler dealerships, no markups. You get the car, and it is sold for the price that we give it to you for. Like, that's how much you can sell it for, is this number right here. And so what ended up happening was people would buy the Demon, and because there were only 3,000 of them, they would take it to another dealership and trade it in or sell it for more than they paid for it. And the dealership, because they didn't get the car from Dodge, would mark it up because it was pre-owned. So somebody would buy it, take it to a dealership, and Chrysler's like, ooh, cool, a Demon. How much you want for it? And they're like, oh, give me what I paid for it. And then the dealership's like, great, here you go. There's your $96,000 back. All right, we're going to sell it for $140,000. And instantly, 50 grand profit. And I have a feeling that's one of the reasons that Ford did not want people who bought the GT to sell the GT within 2 years, because that stupid shit would start happening.
Yep.
And that's what, like, the Demon was supposed to be an attainable, road legal track monster. Drag strip monster. Track is ambitious.
Track has turns in it.
And it's just not attainable, which blows, because I'd love to have one, but I don't have 140 grand just lying around.
Just wait until they put out another one.
They won't do another Demon. They might do something else that's wild and creative, and
Something else that's really stupid.
I wouldn't call it stupid, Tyler.
Are you serious?
It's not stupid.
Oh, okay, sure.
840 horsepower. Oh my, Tyler.
840 horsepower, stripped interior from the factory.
Hey, you can get that interior put back in for $1.
barely legal tires.
Oh no, you get regular tires too.
Uh-huh. Do you?
Yes, you get it, and for an extra $1, you get, I think they call it like the Hell Crate or whatever, and it comes with all the goodies that you need to make it a drag strip king. So it comes with the really skinny front wheels and tires, and it comes with the ECU to allow you to put, or to allow you to run race fuel in it, and blah 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 blah. Like, it comes with all the goodies, and it's an extra $1. I'm pretty sure it even comes with a demon-themed floor jack.
You have to buy the passenger seat too.
Still.
Look. If you buy a demon, you really don't need passengers.
No, but I mean the passenger seat's only $1. So.
Exactly. Like there's the other flip side of that.
It's to put somebody in your passenger seat so you can laugh while they evacuate their bowels.
Not in my fucking seats. They don't.
That's why you put a seat cover on there too.
It's like they shit themselves at the drag strip, and you're like, dude, they're like, your seats only cost $1.
It's only $1.
It's not that much to replace them. And the Dodge is like, oh no, that's $21 to replace them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad.
Still shit on my car.
Fair to me.
But no, I don't think they'll do another demon for a good long while, or anything like it. But the next one they do, I feel like it will get Hellcat syndrome, because I'm pretty sure the Hellcat was actually originally just supposed to be a limited run thing. But it sold out within hours. Like, they could not keep up with the production. And they're like, all right, I guess we'll make it a permanent thing. And then, shortly thereafter, the Charger was announced to have a Hellcat package, and everybody ate that up.
Remember that guy at work telling me I should have gotten a Hellcat. Like that was an option. He's like, well, if I were to get a Challenger, I'd get a Hellcat. And I'm like, well, good for you, high roller.
Be like, well, why don't you have one yet? Oh, I can't afford it.
Wow. Really? Would you look at that?
You know what's funny though is they've actually come down like a lot in price. Like you can get one with like $3,000 as far as miles on it, like 3,000 miles for like $40,000.
What? That's it?
Like
He's like, man, I
pre-owned.
should have got a Hellcat.
Pre-owned, you can get it
It's
with
only 4 times more expensive than your Challenger.
less than that. I mean, maybe out the door on his Challenger, but yeah. But no, I mean, you can get pre-owned Hellcats with low miles for between 40 and 50,000.
That's how much my dad's Ranger was, 40,000.
And he could have had a Hellcat. Now, I'd imagine,
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
and again, I'd imagine it's actually the opposite with the manuals, but the manuals are probably more expensive because
It's an enthusiast vehicle.
and they don't make them. I don't think they factory make them. I think they are special order. Like you have to request it as a 6-speed manual. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they send them out of the factory just on regular cars with the 8 or the 6-speed manual. I think it's standard to have the 8-speed auto. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Again, I could be wrong. One of my coworkers also said that somebody's working on a 7-speed manual. I think that maybe it was even Tremec. 7-speed manual transmission. That'd be kind of weird.
It has the power shifters, doesn't it? The Hellcat?
The Hellcat does, yeah. Could you imagine, though, a 7-speed transmission after driving a 6 for so long?
See, I don't know how often I would drive the Hellcat if I bought one.
You wouldn't drive it very often.
So I might not mind if it was a power shifter, because just take it to a drag strip because it'd be faster.
Yeah, I mean, but imagine just roaring down the road in that thing, too, because they make such a pleasant noise.
Like, if I'm going to buy a car that I'm going to drive a lot, I want it to be a manual. But if I'm just going to occasionally drive it, I don't think I'd mind if it was
See,
power
I'm
shifters.
backwards. I want my car that I drive a lot to be an automatic, and the car that I drive occasionally to be a manual. Like, not that I am going to go switching it around, but if the 57 was a manual, I probably wouldn't mind. But it's not, and if it was a manual, it would probably have been on the column.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So
That doesn't sound like fun.
it's not that bad. Speaking of classics, did you see that Nick is looking into trying to get himself a Corvette
You better.
he?
C3? They're
That doesn't mean
super
anything to
fucking
me.
cheap.
Is that what?
You know what
2000,
Colton's
early 2000s?
No, you know what Colton's Corvette looks like?
Yeah.
That's a C3.
Oh,
Really? Really?
They're really fucking cheap.
Are they seriously?
Yes, like $6,500 cheap.
Um,
I'm not. Look, let me
he might not be the only one who picks one up.
let me show you what. Actually, I might even have a link that he sent me if the car hasn't sold. They're not popular, and I don't know why.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of them either.
Oh, I think they look really cool.
Let's see if it's sold. It has not. At least according to this post, it hasn't. So, hang on. The page is not loading.
I mean, I'll admit they're cool cars, but I don't think I'd ever buy one.
Why?
I don't know.
Look at that, though. That doesn't look fun to you? It's got brand new wheels and tires on it, too.
Some nice shiny wheels.
Bright fucking fire truck red. Hideaway headlights. Look at that interior. And it's a V8 because it's
That's
a Corvette.
fucking clean.
Yep.
How many miles?
It does not say. Yeah, it doesn't say. 350, so it's not a huge V8, but, you know, it's got some power. And that's one of the reasons these are not desirable.
It's because they're not huge V8s.
Well, it became in the mid to late 70s is when the emission stuff started hitting. And so in order to meet those standards, you could only get the Corvette with a 350 or something a little bigger, but I don't remember. You used to be able to get it with a 427, with a 454, with the big fucking V8s, and Chevy axed that in this generation, which is what Nick thinks made them so undesirable.
I mean, that makes sense.
Here's my theory on it, though. If you want a Corvette with a 454 that looks like that, just buy the fucking car for $6,000 and buy the engine to put in it.
You know, it'd be really fun to do with that. Take out all the old stuff and modernize it. What do they call that?
Resto mod.
Resto mod. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a sucker for that body style. I really like, and those are so fun to
The
drive.
interior looks awesome.
It is an automatic.
No.
It's a little unfortunate because that's a car that'd be fun to cruise around in a manual.
But I mean, that's what Nick was searching for. It is a T-top. You can see right there.
That is super clean.
Yeah.
God dang, dude.
That looks a little rough
God
to
dang,
me.
dude. Yeah. But I'm talking about like the interior.
But yeah, the
though.
interior is clean as shit. Like, it is gorgeous on the inside.
We like T-tops.
It definitely not the most comfortable car in the world to drive. Because you sit about a quarter of an inch off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit 7 feet back from the front of the car, too.
Yeah. So, for those of you that don't know, my grandfather has a classic car for each of my brothers and I when we inherited her. The 57 was originally my dad's, and then he bought it from my dad, and that's what kind of started this whole trend. He restored the 57, and that's my car. He also had a Corvette. It's like a 1981 L82 Corvette. It's the same general body as this, and that's what's going to Colton. And I have driven it. It is way fun to drive. Like, because it just goes. Like, you just put the pedal down and it takes off. And it's so fun. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that you sit a quarter of an inch off the ground. You're 9 miles from the front of the car, and when you're driving it, it's like you're in a valley because you sit below the wheel arches. Like, your head, and you can almost see it here. Your sight line is below this.
Right.
Like, you're looking out in between.
You just see the top hood between the fenders.
But I mean, look at that though. It looks clean. $6,200 for that thing. For $6,200 too, like, it's not hard to put a manual in it if you really wanted it. You wouldn't have any room in the trunk. But then again, you're not buying a Corvette for trunk space. And again, those are just gorgeous wheels. I love those wheels. Good clean chrome down here on the rocker panel. Something that you don't see very often. It's got pop-up headlights. Brand new Firestone tires. Could stay in Club Firestone, Tyler.
Nice.
Although I'd like to know what that is. Looks like somebody did a poor job screwing on the front bumper skirt there. That's what that looks like to me, is a screw hole. Right there, under the arrow.
Yeah, it does kind of look like a screw hole.
But I mean, the engine bay is clean. I'm not a fan of the painted fan. No pun intended. So yeah, that's one of the cars he sent me. 270 horsepower, 350. New brakes and brake lines, new transmission. New brake master cylinder, new wheels and tires, spare tire with a holder, air-conditioned car, but it would need hooked up, which is very rare for an old car like that at that price point. Power windows. See, I could see Nick driving that. I really could. But I mean, you go and look at C3 Corvettes for sale, and they're not that expensive. I guess they're just because they're not desirable. Oh, well, I say that, and this website's showing me a bunch of fucking... you know what? I bet you have to search for the 70s one. I'll peek around later. But, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a good classic car, Tyler, there's another one you can look at. Because they're out there. Tons of them. I actually found one on Drive Tribe that was for sale in Virginia. Somebody made a post about it. Had a diesel engine in it. And four-wheel drive.
What?
Because the dude had a farm and he didn't have a truck. He had a Corvette that he got real cheap, so he pulled the engine out of the Corvette.
That's really fucking funny, though.
Dropped in a diesel and switched it to four-wheel drive.
What is that saying? Necessity is
just
another
gotta think
innovation or something?
You just fucking see this guy fucking hauling cattle with a fucking Corvette. It's like, what is he doing? His job, damn it.
Yeah, I like that body style a lot. I'd drive that. I'd own that if I had the room.
There's some crazy Russians on YouTube who took one of those little tiny Russian cars and cut the front off and took a huge, like, 2,000 horsepower diesel motor and just shoved it in there. I haven't kept up with what they've been doing with it now, but it's, like, ridiculous.
Kind of like when we put the big, heavy hydrogen engines in your truck in the field. Did the whole front end of the car just kind of squat down on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
We've established that as far as engineers go, we are top-notch. Because in the field... What did we do? We did a whole engine swap and put on effectively a turbocharger.
Did you?
On a truck. In the field, on a mountain. With nothing but what we had on board.
I mean, it's really not that impressive, though.
I mean...
Go ask any...
If you did that in real life, though, I'd be way more impressed.
Look.
If you did it with hand tools...
We had hand tools.
Exactly. I mean,
we had a welder
on the top of the mountain
and a grinder. Look,
grinder is a power tool.
We are master engineers.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
I like the first comment Chance made too when he saw the truck, because the way Nate made it so that truck could climb up the hill was he put one of the atmospheric thrusters on the front of it that looked like a heli thruster, like the heli fans. And the first thing he said to me is, "It's a fucking fan." I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's not a thruster, it's a fan. I'm doing that to keep my immersion from being broken. And the first thing Chance did when he saw it is he's like, why is there a thruster on the front of it? Nate was muted at the time working on something in single player, and you just hear click, it's a fan.
It's a fan. It's not a thruster.
We finally got our ship up and rolling, and within minutes broke it. We started moving the rover, and we got kind of down the hill, and towards the bottom of the hill, we'd picked up a little momentum from, gravity, and we ran over one tree, and I guess the tree that was shortly thereafter just didn't want to be run over because we hit the tree and got shoved upwards, and the ship we had mounted to the top rolled off, hit the ground, exploded, and we had a huge amount of damage done to the front.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's why we can't have nice things, guys. That's why you can't have nice
And then
things.
Chance wanted to fix the largest drill known to man on the bottom of that thing. Like, underneath it. And, guesstimating here, we have about 8 blocks of clearance from the bottom of the ship to the ground. The drill would have been the equivalent of, 12 blocks.
Wow.
I'm like, Chance, I don't think you understand. It won't fit. He's like, no, you just put it on and then you leave it on while we drive. And I'm like, it's going to be underground. And the rest of the ship will be above ground.
It's like, yeah, I know, that's the point. It's like, no, you don't understand, man.
And I'm sure part of him was just kind of being a smartass, but I genuinely think a part of him wanted that drill underneath there, and I'm like, dude, it is not physically possible. He's like, well, don't you guys have those pistons that you could jack it all up with? We could put it on. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, because the wheels have to touch the ground for the rover to move, and with the drill on there, the rover can't touch the ground, so it can't move. So Nate just did Nate things and engineered us a mining arm on the front of the ship that works just fine. Although part of me really wants to copy that into single player and try it with a third piston. Just to see if we can make it go further.
Yep.
Because I did drill down into the magnesium pit that we found, and I was about 2.5 blocks shy of my magnesium with the drill.
Happy to use landing gear or one of those magnetic pads or whatever to lock it to help stabilize it.
That's true. Those mag pads would be pretty useful.
Or they could cause some worse problems.
Could. That's why we research things in single player before we do them in multiplayer. Most of the time.
Space Engineers is really fun, but some of the physics just make you angry.
Mainly the phantom physics caused by rotors and pistons. That is namely where the issues come from.
It's like that, and the vehicles, they are 100 times better than they used to be. Because you remember, we couldn't use wheeled vehicles.
No.
Now you can use them, and they work really well. Still, they still seem like whenever you're driving around, it's like there's less gravity than there should be. And the wheel traction doesn't feel realistic. It feels like you're driving on slicks off-road, kind of.
Hopefully more work gets done on that. It looks like I've been watching some of the teasers that they've been putting out for the next update that they're planning on doing, and a lot of it is ground focused. Like, everything that they're teasing, it's all on the ground. Like, none of it's in space. It's all on the planet. So I don't know if they're doing that just because it's pretty or what, but it looks like we're getting some new textures. That was a new window that you saw. That wasn't the bunk. That was a new window. And it looks like we might be getting new catwalks with actual better railings that look more industrial. So
I really wish the game had water.
I don't, because half of our fucking structures would sink.
Well, I mean, those
So-
could stay ice I just wish like
The ones that would, if it would affect us, those can stay ice. The rest of them, though, give me water.
imagine having a floating base though,
Yeah.
and you could like have a submarine go underwater. And
Imagine
shit.
the lag that would be subsequently caused by water. Look how long it took them to get planets optimized
Yeah.
without water on them.
At the same time, it might be better because you can have less detail underwater. Just flat sand at the bottom of the ocean.
That would be boring.
Yeah.
And speaking of,
I mean, most of the terrain though is not very detailed.
it gets pretty
If
sometimes.
you remove the trees, I think it'd be pretty boring.
And the grass.
I mean, there's grass, rocks, and dirt and ice. There's no,
No.
flowers.
I'm
or-
talking about, yeah, there's 3-dimensional grass, like that comes up out of the ground.
I know, but there's no animals.
It is a
there's no
procedurally
plants.
generated planet in an open world sandbox space game. Cut 'em some slack.
I'm just saying, there's nothing. It's like empty. It's like,
It's an
kinda
unexplored
eerie.
planet.
well, I know it's unexplored, but there's trees. That's it. There's trees and grass.
Well, I mean,
What else do you expect?
Some animals.
there's wolves.
We don't have them on.
Well,
that's
because
the
they're
only-
annoying.
Also, so there's wolves.
And spiders.
What do the wolves eat? How are they alive?
They eat people.
They eat the spiders.
They eat the spider. I think the spiders are only on Mars, aren't they?
The spiders are only on the alien planet.
Yeah. So, what are the spiders eating? What are they breathing?
People. Well, they've probably adapted to their environment.
They eat people. There's 3 people on the server.
Well, when they eat one of those people
They
and they
can't
come,
really. You're not gonna
Look.
be able to sustain a whole planet with 3 people.
yes, they are, because when one of those 3 people gets eaten, they're like, ah, crap, I just lost all my stuff. So they go back and they get eaten again, and then they go back and they get eaten again. Plus, the spiders again have probably adapted to their environment and eat something within the planet's whatever, whether it's some mineral within the ground or something. You're looking too deep into this, Nate.
I don't think you're looking deep enough at it.
And on that,
And how are there plants when there's no liquid water on the surface?
there's oxygen. Look, Nate, you are...
The plants need some water. I know there's water on the planet, but is there enough on the surface for the plants to get water to grow in the first place? Because all the lakes I see, everything I see is frozen.
You're turning into the video game Jared.
And don't even get me started on the gravity in the game. Jesus Christ, the gravity is terrible.
How is it terrible?
It's not realistic at all.
Why?
What do you mean, why? Look up how gravity works and compare it to space engineers. It's terrible.
Planets have gravity.
Not in the way space engineers put it.
Okay, well, look, again, we need to...
Every single one of our ships in space would be falling to the planet's surface and exploding.
We need to once more reiterate the fact that this is an open world, procedurally generated sandbox survival game.
None of the planets spin. What's up with that? There's no movement.
None of the planets spin. You can't explain that.
Why don't you just email
The sun
Keen?
isn't existent. It's just a 2-dimensional background image.
Email Keen Software House, be like, your game is not realistic.
Your game sucks. I hate it.
They look at your Steam
I'm
account.
just
They
saying,
look at
they're
your
like,
Steam account and
your
they're
game
like,
sucks and I hate it. And it's like, why? Because the planets don't spin.
No, it's
Because the sun's not real.
really fun, but some of it's just depressing.
I think you're just depressing.
Thank you.
I agree with Tyler. And on that depressing note, we're going to go get some food. We actually should be live this week with the Sea of Thieves RPG. Hopefully Chance's child does not have to get rushed to the emergency room again because she was full of shit.
Is that a medical term?
And that's actually what it was. Is she hadn't done the number 2 in a while, and her stomach hurt pretty bad. So next time you talk to Chance, make sure to give him shit about that, because
I mean, his daughter
all did.
definitely isn't.
Yeah. So anyways,
Anyway,
we should be back around 8:30 Eastern Time for the Sea of Thieves RPG, so come and join us then, and we'll see you next time.
yeah, boy.
Later.